Okay, I'm gonna first mute everybody and then pray us in. All right, placing my hands on my heart and taking that breath of love and gratitude. So grateful for this opportunity to be the two or more who are gathered in the name and the nature of love. Grateful for our willingness to show up as love, to have open hearts and open minds and allow love to shine away any blocks to love. We're grateful for all of our earthly and heavenly assistants. We ask that we are surrounded and supported by them during this call, that our technology that we get to use to come together is also supported. And we're grateful for the wisdom and the authenticity and the blessings that we receive from our earthly and heavenly helpers. We're so grateful that we get to share the benefits of the blessings we receive and the love that we are, and our expanding awareness with everyone because we are one with them. In grace and gratitude, we let it be, and so it is. Amen. So we're in chapter 21, section 3, faith, belief, and vision. And I was inspired to start us off in paragraph 9. I believe it's the second sentence starting off there, where he says, "Brother, the Holy Spirit knows that sacrifice brings nothing. He makes no bargains. And if you seek to limit him, you will hate him because you are afraid. The gift that he has given you is more than anything that stands this side of heaven. The instant for its recognition is at hand. Join your awareness to what has been already joined. The faith you give your brother can accomplish this. For he who loves the world is seeing it for you, without one spot of sin upon it, and in the innocence that makes the sight of it as beautiful as heaven." And what came to me,
Linda, what paragraph was that from? I'm sorry.
that's okay, that's paragraph 9.
9. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. What came to me after I read that was that idea that I cannot ride 2 horses at the same time. So do I desire for love or fear? Do I want to be right or do I want to be happy? So those are my choices. And I think I would like to be happy and in love. Who else would like to share?
You know, that first sentence threw me off because of the word sin, and I'm wondering, when we read the word sin, can we just substitute the word separation? Would that be appropriate?
Yeah, I feel it would, absolutely. Yes.
I like to use the word misstep or mistake in place of sin. That helps me.
Yeah. And what helps is to remember that he says it near the very beginning, words are but symbols of symbols. So, you know, whatever word you absolutely feel free to switch it up to what feels right for you. You know, like a lot of people don't like hearing the word God or Jesus, and I say, just use love. Instead of God has all the answers, love has all the answers. Whatever works. Thank you, Deborah, for that question.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Who else? Go ahead, Linda.
I'll go ahead. I read this last night, so forgive me if this doesn't connect the way it does to this morning or whatever, but this paragraph 8 what I thought of when I read last night, I thought, God, this is a perfect description of what the atonement is to me. Those who would free their brothers from the body can have no fear. They have renounced the means for sin by choosing to let all limitations be removed. As they desire to look upon their brothers in holiness, the power of their belief and faith sees far beyond the body, supporting vision, not obstructing it. But first they chose to recognize how much their faith had limited their understanding of the world, desiring to place its power elsewhere, should another point of view be given them. The miracles that follow this decision are also born of faith, for all who choose to look away from sin are given vision and are led to holiness. I mean, accept the atonement for myself. That's the gig here. The function is to forgive everything, because it did not happen. You know, that just very much so encapsulated my vision or my thoughts of what the atonement is. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Linda. Yeah, perfect guide to atonement. Absolutely. Who else would like to share their own insights? Or just what spoke to you from the reading this week?
Linda, I'll speak. It's Samira. So paragraph 7, I found this really interesting. Is it 7? Where it says faith and faithlessness. Let me find it. 5. It is impossible that the Son of God lack faith, but he can choose where he would have it be. Faithlessness is not a lack of faith, but faith in nothing. Faith given to illusions does not lack power, for by it does the Son of God believe that he is powerless. So, you know, I hear myself sometimes saying, or others, like, I don't believe in God, I don't have faith, I really don't have faith. And what this is clearly telling me is that it's not that you don't have faith, you just have faith in the wrong thing. And that even though it says it's faith in nothing, because I'm a divine being, that faith in the nothing and the illusion made this world. So it's not to be, because sometimes I think I have used it and I've heard other people use it, like this world's just an illusion, kind of like, but really that it's not that simple. Although it is an illusion in my experience of it, because of my faith in the wrong thing, is that it is very real. So that gave me peace when I read that, because it's an attribute that I already have, and I don't have to develop it, because I always was like, because I heard on yesterday's call, Jennifer was talking about faith and trust, and how we're really developing these two attributes, really honing in on developing these attributes in this course. The what is the course called? The yearly course, the
Masterful Living.
Yes, Masterful Living course. And I thought about that, and you know, so this gave me faith. Like I have this ability to have faith, but why? And this is the part that I there's something in me, and that is not giving in to being willing to like get off the two horses, that, you know, not riding the two horses at once, because I know that I feel at peace when I meet with you guys, when I hear truth, when I talk about truth, when there's something that happens internally. But very quickly, Linda, and it doesn't take long, the thoughts coming, and it really feels. Now I know I'm going through something big in my life. It's one of those big things that, one of those things it's my lesson, I guess, in this lifetime. But I feel sometimes like the thoughts, I don't have control of the thoughts. I don't have control, like that faithlessness or the faith in the illusion is not even a choice, that it's just so like sticks to me like glue again. And so I just found that interesting, that I've made this world of illusion. I have such faith in it that I'm not willing to let it go. Because honestly, if you ask me, Linda, would you rather be happy or in love or be in pain? I would say, of course I want to be happy. Of course I want to be at peace. But my life is not demonstrating that. So what is that really telling me? And again, I have to be careful here, because I don't want to blame myself and shame myself, but more like taking responsibility. But sometimes I feel like at a loss, like as much as I'm really feels like I'm trying, what is it in me that's holding on to the illusion, the victimhood, the pain? So that's sort of like, what I got out of today's reading. If you want to speak to that, I'd be grateful.
Yeah, go ahead, Linda.
Okay, finally. Well, the part of the paragraph preceding this, you feel like you're writing two courses. We all are. We wouldn't be here. We're still, we're still in the purification process or whatever. But boy, the blessing is I'm reaching a place of recognition now, and then choice. And you wouldn't be in this room if you weren't there, right? So it's all good. But these few lines in the preceding paragraph, from what you just read, starting at, I think, about sentence 4, he would not take them from you, right? So our wills are joined, but the Holy Spirit will not interfere with the curriculum, just will not, unless I ask, right? So he would not take them from you, for he sees their value as a means for what he wills for you. So you made perception that you might choose among your brothers and ask for sin with them. The Holy Spirit sees perception as a means to teach you that the vision of a holy relationship is all you want to see. And that's where we're at here, with the recognition of, I want that. Why can't I retain it? I can even have, portals of hanging on to that briefly. Then we would give your faith to holiness, desiring and believing in it because of your desire. It can't not grow. We cannot be in a purification process here. That's, that's how I see it. So,
Linda, what paragraph were you reading from?
Well, 6, but sort of in the middle of it, sentence 4, I started.
Okay.
So we're in the process.
It's just so painful at times, and I just so want to be out of the pain. But then I'm like, well, if I'm clearly choosing the pain, why am I choosing the pain? Why am I not willing to let it go? But then, like I said, it just feels like I have no choice at some point.
Right.
So.
But our desire will grow. Look at that last sentence, that it's sort of like, oh no, I'm going the other way, quicker, oh, I see where this is going. It does, we're on the path. It's all good. We're just in a correction mode of a story that never happened anyway, so we're already home. So we just need to breathe and kind of chuckle at ourselves and lighten up and, decide for joy where we can, get there. I don't know. And big stuff comes. And that's where our growth comes too, though, you know?
You know, I was also, as you were talking about that, I was remembering another thing that Linda said. She was talking about the caterpillar and the butterfly, and that struggle is so necessary for the butterfly to become a butterfly, and that all of it is serving a purpose for a higher good. But damn, sometimes it just doesn't feel good to be in it.
I agree.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it has to do with, especially at the beginning when we're just realizing all of this, is our judgment of ourselves. Like again, it just comes to that watching a toddler learn how to walk. When the toddler falls down, we don't yell at the toddler and say, you might as well give up and just crawl for the rest of your life. But we do that to ourselves all the time, all the time. So my mind is going back into the pain. If I keep practicing, if I keep doing the lessons, if I keep holding on to what the lessons can speak to me when I notice my judgmental, painful mind coming into play, then perhaps we can grasp onto my mind holds only what I think with God, or remembering to laugh, or whatever little passage you can remember from the course. But you are doing it. We're all doing it. And we can't expect ourselves to get it done perfectly first try, maybe even 100th try, because we've been doing it imperfectly for however long we've been on the planet before we came into this. So that for me, yeah, the pain feels so real. And I know Jennifer talks about becoming unbotherable. So it doesn't mean that life is a bowl of cherries. It just means that you can make cherry cobbler and discard the pits.
This is really helpful to me
Thank you
because I
so
kind of
much.
recommitted to doing the lessons.
Yeah, thank you, Deborah. Yeah, thank you, Hamira. Carla, and then Phil.
Okay, in paragraph 3, why is it strange to you that faith can move mountains? In the third line, for faith can keep the Son of God in chains as long as he believes he is in chains. And when he is released from them, it will simply be because he no longer believes in them, withdrawing faith that they can hold him and placing it in his freedom instead. That is the answer to this. I may have shared this, that I asked Spirit, why does it seem so real? Why does it feel so real? And I was told, because you are real. You give it the sense of reality by believing in it. So it's really the ego believing in it. It's not the true self of us. The I am does not believe it, but we don't listen to it. The ego speaks loudest and first, and the I am is gentle and quiet. It doesn't need to force us. It doesn't demand. If something's demanding you, it's not the truth. The truth is true all the time. All the time. We don't have to believe it for it to be true. It's still true. That is the freedom. When you can completely discern which voice you're listening to, and you only listen to truth, love, peace, joy, all those are at love is all there is. And there's many aspects that look like love. I mean, there's compassion, there's trust, there's understanding, there's gentleness. That's all love. It's not many things. There's only one thing. It's real. That's love. All the rest is illusion. Focus on the truth. Let the illusion go. If other people believe it, that's their choice. Don't join them in their choice. Choose again. Choose with spirit. Align with truth. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. Phil, go ahead.
Thanks everyone, and thanks Mira for starting us on this. And what I'm going to share is more for myself rather than to you, Mira, because it's always we are the ones we are telling this to ourselves, you know. And the lines where I want to go is on paragraph 2, lines 6 and 7. The power of faith is never recognized if it is placed in sin, but it is always recognized if it is placed in love. And actually, early on, when I was reading this, I wrote on the side, I want an example of this. And Humaira, you made it a little more clearer to me. And what came up for me as we were talking, you know, the pain seems really hard when we're experiencing it. And where the judgment is, the pain is even more stronger. And that's how it is for me. And the more I am trying hard to get rid of it, it only gets worse because I am putting pain on pain. And I am not being just that being hard on myself instead of bringing more love to myself. This is a struggle for me right now. I'm really struggling, and this feels not little, this feels overwhelming. And, you know, it is really hurting me so bad. And just to say, you know, I know, acknowledging myself, I know this is hard. I know this feels so difficult, and I'm going to love you no matter what. I'm going to hold you in that compassion, and I'm done with being hard on myself, because the more hard we are, more unattainable it gets, and more and bigger it gets. So just be kind and gentle with ourselves. And I'm not preaching to the choir. I'm telling this more to myself. So don't get me wrong, but I'm grateful and I appreciate that you bringing it up, because it made a lot more sense to me and it came up for me that way. And if it works for you, take it. But I'm not trying to convince anyone. It's more to my own self. And I appreciate everyone listening to me. Thank you.
Very helpful, Phil. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Phil. Who else would like to share? Nancy Gale and then Leslie. And thank you for waving, Leslie.
I'm following along what you're saying, and in paragraph 3, or like what you said, Why is it strange to you that faith can move mountains? This is indeed a little feat for such a power. For faith can keep the Son of God in chains as long as he believes he is in chains. And when he is released from them, it will be simply because he no longer believes in them, withdrawing faith that they can hold him and placing it in his freedom instead. It is impossible to place equal faith in opposite directions. What faith you give to sin, you take away from holiness. And what you offer holiness has been removed from sin. And it's like, I remember someone years ago or something, that the idea that the thought you, what is it? The story is whichever, what the question is, what is the wolf or whatever it is, which one's going to get you, or which one, it's whichever one you feed. So it's whatever thought you feed. But in other words, you keep thinking that thought and thought and thought, the same one over and over, you're feeding it, and that's growing. And so, and you have only two choices, love or fear. So whichever one you feed is the one that's going to be the stronger one, and that's the one that's going to be the one that sort of like it takes over you, or that has more power. So, and you can't, if you feed them equally, so supposedly you could do that. It's like being on a fence. I used to use sitting on a fence. And if you're sitting on a fence, in the middle of, so like the divider in the mall in the middle of the divided highway. If you're sitting on a fence in there, you're going to get it from both sides. You're going to be attacked from both sides, or it's dangerous on either side. It's dangerous. You have to pick one or the other, and whichever one you go to is, get the idea. But I used to tell people, I did a lot of healing circle once, a long time ago. I took over from my pastor, and I taught them just like a meditation that you have a problem, but you don't. You just turn it over, and you don't think about the problem anymore, because as if you think about it, it grows, and you just turn it over to spirit, to God. I used to God then, and let him take charge. And just, and then it's like, that's what's in charge. That's what you're feeding, because you've given it all over, and you're not thinking about the problem anymore. So whatever, so I put that all together, however that works for any of you. But that's what helps me. And Deborah, what you said before about you being and doing the lessons, that's my thing for this year too. And I found that, and I started out, I was going to keep up with everybody, and immediately I got, caught behind, right? And then I started judging myself, and it was like, well, you can't do it. It's like, and it's like, then I realized that when I stopped judging myself, and it's like, whatever lesson I happened to fall on that particular day, even though it was behind everybody, it was perfect for the day. And that's continued to happen. And it's like this time, the lesson, I'm getting so deep in each lesson, and it's just beautiful. It's pain. Some of it's painful, because it's bringing up all these things, but it's making sense of everything that I used to question. It's like, why? Now I understand. Each lesson for whatever day is teaching me something. And it's beautiful. It's also painful. It's bringing up a lot of junk, and but at the same time, it's solving, because it's bringing this up to my awareness. It's like, oh, it's clarification, which means I now can choose what to do with it, which is really beautiful. So that's like the freedom of choosing to continue thinking that way, the victim, I'm in chains as long as I'm focusing on all that old stuff. If I want to let go of that, I have a choice. I can let go of it and let it be and give it over, or I can continue to think about it. So that's whichever one I'm feeding. But it's working. I'm at times I'm like, hate this, and some other times it's like, thank you. So I'm done.
Thank you, Nancy Gale. And you're allowing the lessons to help you rise above the battlefield. Beautiful. Where'd you go? There you are. Leslie.
Hi, everyone. First of all, Deborah, I just wanted to say thank you for mentioning separation instead of sin. I like that a lot. And I'm going to reread the section with that word instead of sin. I think it will make more sense to me. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. And Homera, I had something really, really wise to say. And let me see if I can remember it because it was right after you spoke. I think you said something like your thoughts were kind of driving you crazy. Like, and I could be wrong, but our thoughts are so powerful, and me being so practical. I don't know if you've ever read Katie Byron or not, but I love her. And she, one thing she says is that there are no original thoughts. The same thoughts have been around forever. And I personally don't believe that we are in control of our thoughts, because I mean, I'll be in the shower and I will think of something from like 20 years ago. And I'm like, where the heck did that thought come from? I mean, it's just the thoughts. I mean, I feel like they are just, so to me, my job is to question the thoughts. So my husband should not have left me. Is that true? Are you still together? No. Well, then he should have left you, because that is what happened. And if you can drill down to your thoughts, which I really want to compliment you for, it sounds like you're able to do that, because if you're feeling like a seesaw, you're happy, and then, you know, it's like, well, if you can drill down to what you're thinking, then, because your thoughts come before feelings. So when you're feeling sad and blue, okay, Les, what am I thinking about right now? And I try to hone in on it. And then, I mean, I'm not going to go through the work that Byron Katie does, but she has a 4-step process that might be really helpful. And we can talk about it, you know, some other time. But just that, saying that alone, is it true? You know, you have this thought, and I mean, just whatever the thought is it true? Can just kind of stop you and give you a different perception. So that was just what came to my mind. And then the other thing from Mickey Singer's book, The Surrender Experiment, we all have a roommate in our head. We all have that voice, call it ego, call it your roommate, call it whatever you want, but that thing never shuts up. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And it's interesting to try to find, I haven't found a way to shut it up, but I'm trying more to befriend it. Like, okay, that's not helpful and it's not true. You know, it just, again, it's just little tricks to try to change my perception. And then the third thing I wanted to ask was, Carla, I know last week when we're ending the call, you had mentioned something that was really interesting to me. You said, like, when somebody falls down, breaks their leg, and I think we all agree, a lot of times we'll say, oh, I'm so sorry you broke your leg. That sucks. That's too bad. And yet we are on the spiritual path. So we know that we're not really sorry that they broke their leg, because we know that they were supposed to break their leg. Otherwise their leg wouldn't be broken. But my question is, how do we live in this world and be authentic to ourselves and not be cruel to other people? Because just like I want to say to Hamira, oh my gosh, honey, I'm so sorry everything is so hard for you right now. I truly am. And yet I know this is her path and she needs to be in that challenge right now. And I'm finding myself struggling a little bit with that. So I just wondered what, like I said, it was at the end of the call, if you even remember.
I think that's a really good question to ask. And I would answer that by, you know, I had this stroke almost 5 years ago, and I'm dealing with physical things and mental things with it, and emotional things, of course. And I mean, people will say to me, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and yeah, that's nice to feel that and hear that. But I think the big picture, the way to get around all that without, saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry," is just to be kind to the person. I think that goes a long way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, oh gosh, Deborah, I'm so sorry. What can I do to help? Do you need me to go grocery shopping for you? Do you want to just talk for a while? Something like that?
Yeah, I like hearing those things, of course, and sometimes they really are helpful to me. But I think the main thing that has really helped me the most is people to just be genuinely kind to me. But not, in a point of feeling sorry to compensate or anything like that. Just genuine kindness. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that's how I would answer that.
Okay, and just I think to be kind, another way to be kind is just to truly listen to somebody. Listen
Yeah.
and not give advice, not do anything but just listen. Active listening.
Yeah, that's a good one too. But it is a balance. I mean, there's a balancing act for the person receiving it as well as the person giving it.
Well, especially if the person you're talking to, as far as I know, they don't have a spiritual life, or, but they're still your friend on a worldly level. And I do have compassion for them. It's interesting. Carla, what were you going to say?
Look, it's very, I have let go of choosing. Who is I? I is the ego, the false self. It's it. I ask love how to respond. Each person is different. So you can say, "Oh, I understand. That must feel so challenging." But don't do it from a "I'm sorry" place. "I'm sorry you're doing this. It's bad, it's wrong, it should be different sort of thing." But don't join them in the upset. Bring them to truth by holding the truth yourself, the trusting that somehow it's helpful, and acknowledge how they must be feeling if they're sharing that. Say, "Oh, like we've all felt it. We've all felt the healing, had it come up and go, oh, it feels so, whatever." It's, the reason why it feels that is because we're holding on to what we think is real. And God's like gently trying to pry it out of our hands and saying, "Sweetheart, you want the truth, right? You want love, you're interested in love." And so I've learned when I go to the prayer room, I practice. People ask me what my prayer request is. I don't decide alone. I ask for help, and I open the book, or my eyes will land on a book, this book, that book, and I open the page, and I don't think about what to say. I allow myself, and some of the things I come up with that people are like, "That's amazing." I didn't come up with it. I let spirit lead me to the truth. And it's not something I'm sharing to help them. I'm helping myself, because there is only one, right? We say it all the time in prayers, but I know I have forgotten it. There's only self. So does that answer your question? It's a long answer, but
Yeah, that was helpful. Thank you.
good. Thank you for asking. I mean, that's how we receive answers. We don't think we know. We and pay attention to who we ask. Is it ego speaking or spirit? So I'll shut down, but thank you.
And Leslie, I just wanted to say thank you. I am aware of Byron Katie's work, and I've actually taken a few of her like seminars where you go through the 4 questions and everything. And I've seen people say it has transformed their life. I don't know if I was not in the right mind space, like that part where you're supposed to sit and meditate on the questions, like that really didn't happen for me. So even it seemed more robotic and mechanical. It didn't, but I like the question for you to say, like, just question your thoughts. Is it true? Well, it must be true because it's happening right now. You can't fight with reality. So I'm going to use that. And then I agree with you too that I don't know how much they say we have 40 to 60,000 thoughts a day that we're aware of, or that we're not even aware. It's like that's how many that we have. So how could I control my thoughts? Like, and Rupert Spira, who's a non-dual speaker, he speaks that to, and many non-dual speakers, like it's not so much about controlling our minds or controlling our thoughts, because the thoughts are going to come. It's like what the mind does. It's like a calculator calculates, the mind thinks, but it's rather is, do I become the presence of the watcher of the thoughts, or do I become the thoughts? And it seems right now in my stage, I become the thoughts, unfortunately. Or I shouldn't even use that because it's part of my process, but I don't know. That's what I got. I don't even know if I'm making sense. Sorry.
No, that makes perfect sense, Tamara. And I just want to put this out. If you ever want me to facilitate you with a worksheet, I'd be happy to do that.
Oh, I would love that. I would love that. I'll put my email in the chat box.
Okay, sounds good. And your cell phone.
And my phone number, yeah.
Thank you, ladies. Linda and then Suzanne.
I was thinking about, Gary Renard talks, he's constantly reinforcing be normal. I don't know if that was original from him or Ken Wapnick or who, but I want to give a shout out for being angry or being upset or being depressed or being whatever you are. I do a lot of mentoring, sponsorship sort of stuff with people, and I have to consider my audience. Majority of people I interact with in the world are not course students. And it's really about being in tune with, I see them whole. I see them unaffected. I see them above the battleground. I see them and not taking away or filling the interaction with these lovely platitudes or, I really honor where people are. And I think that at some point you just kind of flush that out, but there's a process that needs to happen. And it's going to take whatever time it takes. It's just like grief. Grief is a thing that, there's no timeline. It's a very individual experience. So it's really mind to mind. I'm very in touch with, as long as I'm seeing them on the other side of this and their wholeness and our oneness and all is well. That's kind of the way I approach stuff like that today. They don't have to be in on it, but yet they are in on it. That's the greatest gift I can give them, is to know that truth. So, thanks.
Thank you, Linda. Suzanne.
Yeah, thank you, Linda. Thank you, everyone. So much interesting conversation here today. I agree with you wholeheartedly, Linda, that people are where they are. I'm a celebrant. I do ceremonies for a living, and often that is about funerals. And people are, when they first contact me, maybe that their loved one is just about to die or has just died, and they need help right away. And yes, I can hold them as whole in my mind, but it is a huge part of empathy and compassion to be able to say, I'm so sorry that this has happened, to acknowledge what people are going through. And yes, they are going to come out the other side eventually, but they're going to do it in their own time. And it's an extension of love to be able to say, I'm so sorry, or for whatever has taken place. I'm so sorry this is happening to you. I'm so sorry this is your experience at this time. And it's just empathy, it's compassion, and holding them whole in your own head, knowing that eventually they will heal. They will come through, and not just, with the death of a loved one or whatever, but wherever you can show compassion is to move into love. And you can offer and extend that there. And you don't have to go down into that vibration with them, but you can acknowledge that they're experiencing it. So that was one thing I wanted to say. And the other thing about our thoughts and how wild they are and how fast they move, and how you think, oh, how can I control this? It's just so out of control all the time. There are times when we know that we're in a really low place, we're in a low vibration, and we know that we want to change it. We wish we could change it. But our thoughts, they gain tremendous momentum. And once you're going down that hole, they will just speed up and get faster and faster and gain momentum. And it often is, we actually are, I don't think, capable of jumping from a very low place to a high place. I don't think we can do it all at once. We have to do it in increments. And Abraham Hicks teaches something called pivoting, or they use something called a focus wheel, where this is where you are. You know you want to improve your thoughts because you know they're not serving you. In fact, they're probably hurting you. But you can't jump from here to there all at once. And so you just do it in little increments. And you might think, oh, I'm really, this is really horrible what's happening. I can't believe this is happening to me. And how awful. And you could keep going in that direction because the momentum will take you in that direction. But if you have awareness, you may stop and say, maybe I could feel a little better. Maybe I could say, well, this is how I feel right now, but maybe by tomorrow I will feel better, and just work it up from there, because making a big jump is really difficult. It's in fact, in some very low vibrations, it's impossible, I think. So you just take it up a little bit at a time. Well, maybe I'll feel better by tomorrow, or maybe this isn't exactly true, or maybe I'm interpreting this in a way that's harming me, and I can do better than that. And it just kind of bit by bit. So I just wanted to add that as well, because man, when those negative thoughts take off with you, they're going to have their way with you. And an awareness that you want to move up a little bit at a time. You can do it. Take some effort. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan.
Yeah, thank you, Suzanne. When with everybody sharing, I was reminded, I think what I've heard Gary Renard say in lectures is, don't be weird.
Yeah.
Don't be weird. So, if you go to a funeral, you're not going to say, well, this is an illusion anyway, to the person that's mourning the death of their loved one. And for me, it's just finding little increments of where I can love myself, where I'm at, where I can love that little child within me that is in pain, that is hurting. And in increments, like Suzanne said, you know, we're not expected to go from crawling to running triathlons. We're not expected to do that. Is it possible? Well, if God can move mountains, I'm sure that it's possible, but I can't conceive of it. So I'm just going to allow the increments and be happy with that. And know that if I'm in a downward spiral at the moment, that just coming up a tiny little bit for a breath of fresh air might be good.
Yeah.
And I'm
your
going to be okay
comparison,
with
your comparison, Linda, is very helpful. Sorry I interrupted because,
that's
I mean,
okay.
the walking thing, because I'm literally having to learn how to walk again.
Oh, sweetheart.
So, I mean, that is really meaningful to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Deborah. I know. I'm learning stuff all the time at trying to rise above the battlefield that is the thoughts that occupy my mind, you know, that won't allow me to sit in stillness sometimes. And I was having like this conversation in my head about, you know, taking responsibility for, you know, for everything in my life and for my own healing. And I was reading a book that we're reading for our prayer practitioner training, and he made a quote from the Bible, wilt thou be made whole? And I thought, that's what my responsibility is to choose that thought that I can be made whole. I wrote it on my wrist. I don't do this, but I wrote it on my wrist. Wilt thou be made whole? It's been on there for a few days. I've had to redo it once because it was fading. But it's like every time I turn my wrist and I see, what is that? Oh, yeah. It reminds me, I have the opportunity to make that choice. That is my power. You know, God created the heaven and the earth, and he said it was good. He was done. That's it. Every single cell and fiber of our being is perfect, whole, and complete because he was done. And he said it was good. So all I have to do is get out of my own way and be willing to be whole. To choose it myself. Nancy Gale.
Well, what you just said, in the Bible, it was he healed what was it? Whichever was it, the guy that was at the gate, he couldn't walk.
Blind
or
man.
the blind man. And he said, your faith made you whole. He chose to believe. And that's in the paragraph 3. It said, when faith can keep the Son of God in chains as long as he believes in them, that he's in them. And when he's released from them, it's simply because he no longer believes in them, withdrawing faith that they can hold him and placing it in his freedom instead. I wanted to thank, oh shoot, I gotta plug in my computer. Leslie, when you said, Deborah asked about, it's like the question about how you know what you know and believe what you believe and live in this world that believes differently or hasn't got to that point yet. I struggle with that all the time, especially with my son-in-law and it's like, and then I remember back when I did CPE, which is clinical pastoral education training thing. And we were taught the prayer, the pastor that taught us to pray, he said, listen. And it's like, you're not there to tell them anything. And we were given access to their charts if we wanted, to any patients. I chose never to look at one. I went and entered a room and was on even keel with a person. I knew what they wanted to tell me. And that's the way I did it. And the listening, and that's what I did. I listened. And I had all kinds of people telling me their pastor was just there, but you helped us more, blah, 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 all this gentlemen that were in the war and all this stuff. Anyway, the listening, and then I remember him telling me one time, I was saying something, describing something. He said, Nance, she's talking, you're like in two in different trains, right? Side by side. She's talking at 25 miles per hour, and you're going at 100 miles per hour. You're way up there. You're not with her. You got to, and it's up to you and me to stay with her and listen at where she's at. And she's gonna know that you're right with her, and you're not imposing, you're not already decided anything, you're just listening. And that's what patients need in the hospital, because everybody else comes and does things and tells them and this and pokes them and does all that stuff, then they leave the room and the person's there in pain or whatever. So, and that's
what
the
our
same
inner
with
child needs.
the grief and everything.
Yep.
That's what I
exactly
need. So
what the inner child needs too, Nancy
exactly.
Gail.
And that's what I was going to say when you said about
Yeah.
the child. It's like I can do that same thing for me, the inner child, the inner child. That's what, and I put that together, and it's like, that's so cool. This is a great conversation. Thank you for everybody putting their stimulus in it. It's really cool.
Thank you, Nancy Gail. Yep, just know we're with you. We're with you. Every step of the way, we're with you. That's what we're here for, to love one another, to be loving and compassionate. Yeah.
And that's how it's, whatever I just read recently, that's how that's your demonstration of your love.
Exactly.
Not by all the words, but it's just being the love is how you show it or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love you guys. Thank you.
You're welcome. We love you too. Well, on that beautiful note, we're going to close out for today. So next week, we're continuing in chapter 21, section 4, the fear to look within. Talk about taking responsibility. So holding each one of us as we look within this week. So I'm going to read the Pathways of Light Insights for my lesson, which is number 47. God is the strength in which I trust. Remembering that God is the strength in which I trust is the same as putting my trust in reality instead of illusions. Illusions are unstable and constantly change. God is eternal and changeless. Placing my trust in a world of illusions is like placing my trust in quicksand. It will always fail. God is the only place of real trust. Only God is invulnerable. Only God can be relied upon in every situation. We all have our foundation in God. God is the tree of real, everlasting life. Trusting in anything but God is just a silly idea. God, I hand over every concern to you. Only in you is there true meaning. Returning to love is my one function. Extending love is my only joy. This is my strength. This is my security. This is where my true happiness lies. I cannot do anything on my own, for on my own I am nothing. God is the strength in which I trust. This lesson speaks to us as we perceive ourselves in this world, as separate, alone, weak, and with every reason to be apprehensive and fearful because we trust in the strength, quotes, of this limited self. But if we look at the lesson as a whole, it is clear that Jesus does not see this as the truth about us. The strength of God is in us because God is in our mind. As we learned in an earlier lesson, the peace of God is there to be found in us because God is in our mind. It is only our belief in a false image of ourselves as alone and separate from God that leads us to feel weak, apprehensive, fearful, and out of control. It is this false image that leads us to feel we must defend ourselves. Remembering that our mind can help us remember that God's strength is ours. Love's strength is ours. If only love is real, which the Course tells us in the introduction to the text, then harm is impossible. There can be nothing to fear. There is another aspect of this lesson that is very important to me. Not only does it assure me that I can trust in the strength of love, but it assures me that I can rely on this love to guide me in every aspect of my doing. It is another way of assuring me that I am never alone. I have everything I need to safely and lovingly move through every situation, harmlessly and in perfect peace. I need only place my trust in love, in God. Love is the strength in which I trust. My son was expressing to me the uncertainty he feels about everything in life. There seems always to be more than one way to judge everything, and how do you know what to believe and what is the best way to act on it? He said that he can't feel certain about anything and that he realizes he doesn't know anything. He was feeling like he was standing over an abyss with no bridge, no net under him. I congratulated him on reaching a truth at age 17. Most people don't reach for many years in their life, if ever. I assured him the answers were there in him, and that realizing his ego didn't have the answers made it possible to get there. Today's lesson was a great place to continue our conversation. I find it a great relief to be able to let go of any residual in my belief that I have the answers and that I can successfully act on my own. It is a comfort to know that I don't have to, and that I have the strength of God within me. I am not left to flounder on my own, but have certain direction that I can't lose because it is in me. Thank you, everybody. See y'all.
Thank you. Great call today.
So much.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Love.
Thank you.
So
Thank you so
much.
much.
Thank you.